What is going on, Clippers fans? Welcome to Season 3, Episode 52 of Clips and Dip. I am Chuck Mockler, joined by Adam Osland. We got Will Updike with a wide-angle lens. So if you're only listening to this podcast, you can watch us at youtube.com/@ClippersPodcast to see the new angle. Maybe it changes next time. Who knows?
It'll change next time.
Let's level set. It'll be changed next episode. We're going to be talking the Kawhi game winner, obviously, the upcoming back-to-back, and then kind of a daunting question that I was asked on a different podcast that I'm going to make these two guys answer. Before we get into that, Will, how are you doing? Adam, how are you doing after that scintillating game against the Sacramento Kings? Will, we'll start with you.
I mean, it was a get-right weekend. Things are on the up and up, both for the Clippers and me personally. Spring is right around the corner. Things are turning around, all right? It's going to be better.
Will has routinely said this is our year, but he seems even more impassioned about it being our year. Adam, how are you doing? What a game. Had to have been a fun thing to talk about with the callers after the game last night, yeah?
Yeah, it was a good time. Clipper Nation was stoked. The first real game winner, buzzer beater at Intuit Dome, and it came at the left hand of Kawhi Leonard. Pretty awesome. I had my doubts when the shot went up, but he's got that magic touch when it comes to a game winner that bounces around like a Plinko chip. He finds a way to get it to fall.
Yeah, as soon as it bounced once, I went, "Oh no!" And then it bounced 3 more times, and I was like, "Well, of course, this is going in." that's the only way these things fall for Kawhi. Just obviously there was a lot of we'll talk about kind of the game as a whole, but it was so nice to see that confidence, the trust in the team, and we never really thought that went away, but it's nice to see it fully on display since Kawhi's been back. For him to take that shot, especially left-handed.
Especially in a game where he was 6 of 18 before he took that shot. And James Harden had made a lot of big ones. But Kawhi did get that and one when they were down 7 with about 1:40 left in the fourth quarter. That also fell somehow. And he kind of shrugged like, that's the toughest shot I got all night. And that's the one that drops because he was missing a lot of good looks. So I also think it's meaningful that they went to him down the stretch. That was their guy, their go-to player in a situation like this. And he perfectly ran out the clock and made sure that the Kings would have no time if that ball dropped through to come back at him.
Yeah, because I got to be real. I was glad the ball was in Kawhi's hand. But what was your confidence level at in that final shot? It being in his hands as the clock was ticking down. Charles, I'll start with you. Where were you at just from a personal confidence level for the game winner?
That's a good question. I did have a little bit of what the hell are we doing here? That was kind of in my head a little bit because we've seen those possessions before from this Clippers team, right? Where
no movement whatsoever. I was tensing up. I'm sorry. I love Kawhi. I know he's Mr. Big Shot, but poof.
Yeah, I was in the same boat. I was kind of like, okay, this is either going to be classic ISO heroics by Kawhi, or everyone's going to complain that we weren't doing anything and there wasn't a set play or something like that. So I was for sure a little nervous. But like I said, as soon as it hit the rim more than once, I was like, oh, game over. Go back to the big tomato.
Yeah, that's like the secret password to get it to fall through the hoop. It has to hit the rim a few times.
You got to talk to it.
Yeah, it's a secret knock on the door. If he had missed that shot, there would have been some harsh criticism on Kawhi, on the play being run. The outrage would have been loud. But I would have at least said, look, they need Kawhi to be at his best for this team to peak. And to do that, you got to instill confidence and you got to play through him. You got to show that he is your superstar. And he's going to be taking these shots. He's making $50 million. It's usually how it works. There's typically hero ball in the NBA from every team late in games. It's usually the case. And I'm hoping, I did have some concerns initially because I was like, oh, he's going to run down the clock here and settle for the final shot. This is it. But I also thought the reason they were doing that, instead of just going for whatever the best shot was available, time on the clock, left be damned, was because I don't think Kawhi would have been able to play in double overtime.
No,
So
yeah.
I think they were saying this is either going or we're losing the game right now. Like, this is it. So I understood it. I think there was logic and rationale to it. And Kawhi is infinitely skilled enough to get that to go. So I was happy, but I did have concerns because I didn't want to check the numbers earlier today, but I know him last 24 seconds of a game within 3 points as a Clipper, at least, it hasn't been great.
Right.
Those attempts. But last night's win, and I think it could do a lot for Kawhi and the team.
Yeah, I like what you tweeted too, kind of wondering, like, I guess we're going to find out if Kawhi plays in overtime, which was such a big question. And then he played very well in overtime. Obviously, he got the win for the Clippers, but the whole thing was very encouraging. Like, just kind of the game as a whole. Hope Ty Lue's back is okay. Brian Shaw had to coach the game because Ty Lue's back was acting up, which sounds like a damn nightmare.
Especially if you got to fly out on the road afterwards. Right. Is he going to be with him?
Damn.
We haven't heard otherwise.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, no. Well, there was the injury report, but that was Ty Lue wasn't on it. Thankfully.
Sometimes if it's back spasms or something like that, it could just settle down and he could be fine. Remember when Kawhi left that game last year and everybody was freaking out?
Yes, that was so weird. Yeah, Will, anything else on Kawhi before we talk about some of the other highlights from this game? Because there were, I mean, it was a weird game. It was kind of gross, but they found a way to win, which is good.
Yeah, I mean, this could be very much a birthing game, in the words of Adam Oslin, which, you know, this could instill something new for this Clippers team. And Kawhi post game, I mean, talked about his confidence. You know, he kind of gave the generic answer that he's going to shoot through stuff, but it's still good to hear him approaching the game with that confidence, because I think, like, numbers aside, you know, since the return, I do feel like at times he has looked like a shadow of himself on the court. So to see him come up in a big moment is definitely a step in the right direction. And to see that internally, you know, like, he still is of the mindset that we need him to be at as, you know, the best player for this team. So there was a lot of really encouraging stuff. But I mean, like Adam kind of touched on, like, if we're being honest, that was like one rim bounce away from some time to ask some very serious questions for this team. I don't want to be overly dramatic about it, but like, you kind of have to, like, what, you know, what do you do at that point? It gets even tighter in the West. And you know, if who's supposed to be your best player isn't able to deliver in a big moment, you kind of got some other questions. So it was a huge win. But I do wonder, you know, the sliding doors moment is a little scary. Not to be overly dramatic.
Adam, anything last on Kawhi specifically before we talk about Zoo, Harden, and Derek Jones Jr.?
I think sometimes with Kawhi, it's hard to differentiate between, is he not moving well or is he just missing shots that he normally makes? And there's nothing really to worry about. They're going to fall eventually. And it's still early in the process. This was game 22 for him, and game 3 or game 4 off of the minutes restriction, even though there still is one. He mentioned that post game. Sounds like it's around 36, but they've gone above it. So there's some flexibility there. So it is hard to measure where he's at, because I thought he looked really good the second game against the Lakers, and I thought he looked really good for 3 quarters against Phoenix. He looked great. And then the last couple of games out there, he didn't look as good. He's been in a real funk from the outside, 3-point percentage wise. He has tanked his 3-point shooting in like 2 games. I think he's like 2 for his last 16, or maybe even worse.
He was 1 for 7 last night, I think, something like that.
Yeah, like, he went from shooting, I think, 39% to now 35%. Yeah, he's 3 for his last 19.
Not ideal.
Yeah, so
gun numbers.
That was something I was kind of holding on to and looking at the lift and saying 3-point shots are falling for him. But then that starts to go, and if he's not hitting mid-ranges at the same level we're accustomed to, then I'd start to get really worried. So we do need to see better from him in tomorrow's game overall from an efficiency standpoint.
Yes, because he's not going to be playing. It is a back-to-back, so he's not playing on Wednesday. Other people had good games. Zoo had 22 and 14. Harden had 29, 9, and 11. I thought Derrick Jones Jr. was huge in this game. Obviously, Zoo and Harden were important too, but it was like you see what Derrick Jones Jr. brings to this team athletically and just kind of utility-wise. Like, I know we kind of knew this going about him, but he's really shown he brings everything this Clippers team needs, especially when he has to come off the bench. I thought it was one of his better games off the bench, impact-wise.
He scored as many points as Kawhi did. They both had 17. And on the season now, DJ is right below shooting 37% from the outside. So he's kind of well above league average with, 18 games left. There's a good chance he's going to finish above league average from 3 this season, which is really all you needed. Like, that's all you could hope for. That's great. Because everything else he does is awesome. His slashing to the hoop, the athleticism, the defense. If he is knocking down threes in a similar way that he was last year in the playoffs for the Dallas Mavericks, that was the entire conversation about him coming in. Will any of that transfer? And for the most part, it has.
Will, did we have any weird bets about Derrick Jones Jr.'s three-point percentage? Do we have to eat any hats or eat any crows or anything?
No, I don't think so. I feel like we were both pretty confident on it. I didn't think it would maintain necessarily at the playoff, at his playoff clip last year, which I don't have right in front of me. But I mean, he's a decent shooter, and we talked about this 1 or 2 episodes ago. But you do feel a lot less nervous with the ball in his hands beyond the arc than Chris Dunn, and that is huge for the Clippers, especially when they go through these 3-minute plus stretches with no scoring.
Which they had one against the Kings. There was a while.
Oh, buddy.
That first, was it the third quarter started off so well, and then things just kind of stalled out and very kind of pitifully looking. Zoo had another huge game. Valanciunas poses a really interesting battle for him just because it's really physical big. He does that little hip push that Jim Jackson and Brian Seaman were talking about a lot, where when he goes up for that little push shot, he can push him further out, basically. But he handled it very well. Harden was Harden. More fantastic stuff. People were upset about.
That's all we're gonna say for.
I mean, what do we want to say? It was
9 and 11.
It was class. Like, this is what he does, right? Like, go off. We needed every single one of it. Like,
Harden was extremely clutch late in the fourth quarter. The runner in transition where they just said to hell with the clock. The Kings can have another opportunity out here. I'm going to take what the defense gives us right now. And he got that quick bucket in transition, led to Zach LaVine, thankfully missing that shot that I definitely thought was going in. But James was huge. And then he had a 3 and another little floater in OT. And I think some free throws. And by the way, the Clippers just won a game where they missed 10 free throws. They went, I think, 15-25.
What's going on with the shooting? What's going on with the free throw shooting right now?
I don't know, but if they had lost that game, that would have been the thing underscored, highlighted, circled. Like, how do you blow 10 free throws in this game?
They got to. They're not.
Are you making them run wind sprints when they miss?
100%. They need to put more weekly progress points on the free throw practice slider or whatever they're doing. No, Harden was phenomenal, but like I didn't mean that in a weird way, but like he does this for this is just a thing that Harden does. Him and Kawhi started off incredibly cold. And then they managed to turn around, but it's just good to see.
With the extended Norm outage, right? Like we thought we were going to have him back. We thought we'd continue to have him here. Like what Harden is able to do, like, I don't know. I agree. It is just what he does, but it's still kind of mind blowing. Like for where he is, age wise, where he is in his career, where people thought he was when he came here. And I just think that he's answered a lot of questions, and he's been, he's been incredible. He has been the all-star for the Clippers, and continues to be. So, thanks, Harden.
Thank you, James. People were upset rotation-wise that Batum wasn't in the fourth quarter when Amir Coffey was in. Amir Coffey did end up getting a shot late that I didn't like that he took. I thought that Kawhi maybe could have taken a shot, or Zoo maybe could have not passed. I think the Clippers were down 1. Zoo got the ball in. dished it to Kawhi. Kawhi passed it to Amir, and Amir missed the three. And in my head, I was like, I would have been fine with Zoo taking that shot or Kawhi taking the three. Just interesting it fell to Amir. How are we feeling about these rotations? Is that something we're not worried about yet because because Norm's not available, so all the rotations are thrown off? If we would have lost, it would have been a lot louder of a group of people upset.
How many minutes did Nico Batum end up at in that game? Because he played, 34 the game before?
Played 28, and he was 3 for 3 with 4 boards and a block.
The hot 3-point shooting from him recently has been nice to see. I don't know. I get some of the gripe stuff with Amir and playing 27 minutes, but they don't have a lot of different avenues to turn, and that's pretty decent chunk of minutes for Nico Batum coming off a game where he just had 34. I get the criticism. I also don't think it's crazy the way they used him in that game.
It's like a wrinkle. It's not like a big issue. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like, it's also saving him for later in the season. I know we're not too far to the end of it, but he is still an older guy. Like, we do got to consider.
I mean, 28 minutes is probably more than Nico should be playing for this team. Obviously, Norm is out. Like
full rotation. Yeah.
It's not our normal rotation, but I mean, I'd always love to see more Nico on the floor, but I think 28 is a reasonable expectation to get from him.
And Simmons was out. That's the other part that messes up the Nico minutes too, right? If Simmons is in,
Which
the
we
rotation,
still have no word on.
No word. It is knee. But him being back also changes that, where I think Nico gets some of those clutcher minutes that maybe Amir would get.
I wonder if they're trying to save him some for the Zion matchup coming up. He might have to get
that's true
against Zion, which is not going to be easy, of course.
Where did Will go? Will heard the Zion slander, and he said, "I'm out of here."
Zion's coming. Omar's coming.
Scared. Yeah. All right. So the Clippers. One of the things I loved about this game, they found a way to win an ugly game. This was a gross game of basketball. This was not an exactly aesthetically pleasing game of basketball.
The turnovers were really low, though, from both teams. Like, I thought in some ways it was well played. There were shots that were missed that both teams would like back, but they also caught that heater in overtime where they're going back and forth. They're both hitting shots. The replays that were plentiful down the stretch of the game were tough, but I felt like they got them right. And I was looking at King's Twitter and what they were saying about the game earlier today.
How were they?
They're pissed about the retracted foul on DJ on DeMar DeRozan on that three-pointer on the left wing that turned into a jump ball that Ivica Zubac won for them. They think that was a screw job, that he got him on the wrist. That shouldn't have happened. I thought it was almost close enough where DeRozan kicked his legs out. Carlo and I talked about this.
Yeah.
It happened, that it might have been an offensive foul by the way he kicked his legs out to DeRozan.
I think that's fair.
I didn't hate that call or think, the Kings got screwed. And I don't think the Clippers got screwed when they said that DeMar DeRozan long two-pointer, even though the shot clock malfunctioned and they reset it, even though it didn't touch the rim because Kawhi blocked Valanciunas, it still was within the parameters of 24 seconds when he ended up taking that shot. So there were some stalls in the game that maybe hurt the flow for a second, but I don't know. It felt like a playoff type game to me in a lot of ways.
The vibe was very much playoff vibes for sure, which is what it needed to be, right? Because now the Clippers have the tiebreaker over the Kings, so we're effectively 2.5 games ahead of them in the standings. We are 1 game back of the Warriors and Timberwolves, who are in 6th and 7th. We do not have the tiebreaker over the Timberwolves, but we do over the Warriors. So that's
still a game left against them.
Against the Dubs, yeah. So that's interesting. I don't know. I feel a lot better about the standings than I would have if he missed, right? Like, things become a lot bleaker in that scenario. Because then that second to last game of the season, which is against the Kings, instead of meaning possibly a whole bunch, standings-wise, the Clippers, it's as of 6:03 p.m. on March 10th. It's, a normal game.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. I'm almost looking at the top of the West more. just to see who you could match up with if you're 7th. We know you're matching up with if you're 8th. So I'm looking at who do you match up with if you finish 6th or 7th. Those are the 2 teams that I'm looking at who's slotted there. And my hope is the Memphis Grizzlies go on a winning streak here and jump into the 2 seed. Ideally, then you get 7th. That's a great matchup, or the best of the worst matchups you can get.
Right. Yeah. I like that. Best of the worst is what I would call it for sure.
But I think it would be significantly better than playing Denver or the Lakers with Luka now.
Yes, I would 100%. And we don't know what kind of Russ revenge would be cooked up either in a series against Denver, just in terms of playoff stuff. But I think that's a great point. The best of the worst options. We're going to talk more about what is maybe the best scenario for the rest of the Clippers season in a bit. We're going to talk about this upcoming back-to-back after a quick audio break. We got the Pelicans on Tuesday, then the Heat on Wednesday. If you're listening to us on audio, there's going to be a short break for advertisements. If you're watching us on YouTube, we'll still be here. We'll hopefully be back. A short audio break, and then talking the back-to-back coming up in 3, 2, 1.
Hey, welcome back in to Clips and Dips. I'm back. Sorry about that. I was the reason for the wide angle. I was going from my iPad died. Anyways, don't worry about it. We talked about Kawhi's incredible game winner in the OT thriller over the Kings. Massive step in the right direction for the Clippers. Potentially massive implications moving forward. But the job is not over yet. We got an upcoming back-to-back, of course, because we hate rest. We're taking on the Pelicans tomorrow from the day that we're recording this, Tuesday, if that's the day you're listening to this, followed by the Heat. Charles, you think we're going 2-0 on this one?
I am not on the record saying that. I think we split this one strictly for the fact that Kawhi's out for the Wednesday game. We're all assuming, right? Norm's not going to be there. We've seen it. We've seen James Harden on the second night of a back-to-back put up 50 points. So I would love for that to happen again. But a road back-to-back, the Pels proved to be, I think, a harder matchup than the Heat, just looking at the stats. So I'm thinking we split. But I hope we split with a conference win, because that's the one that matters most to me.
Adam, 2-0, back-to-back. Haggle, no haggle.
No haggle. I think it's possible.
I didn't say it was impossible.
Let's go. Chuck hates the Clippers.
They're going to surprise the hell out of Chuck, just like Will did on the rejoin.
Yeah.
With me. Jumping out of the bushes. I think it's very possible. I do think the Pelicans game is the tougher game here. And I was talking with Carlo earlier. Kawhi's played the front end of all the back-to-backs, I think, this season. He's always played the first.
Yeah.
They haven't done it based upon matchup, I don't believe. It's just he plays the first. I think that's accurate. And the Pels, I think, are actually, you can throw the record out because both teams have changed so much, and the Pelicans have been through injury hell this season. And if they have CJ and they have Zion like they're supposed to tomorrow, I think they're slightly more dangerous. And especially because they always beat the Clippers. So that's the game you would want Kawhi anyways.
Yeah, history is on their side.
They also did just sign Mo Bamba, which means he's going to have a revenge game of sorts. 3 threes by Mo Bamba. Book it. So I was looking just since the All-Star break. They're not shooting very well. They have the 21st offensive rating. They're 24th in three-point percentage, and they're 23rd in defensive rating. The Clippers aren't exactly lighting it up in those same areas, but I do believe in the Clippers more, despite what my co-hosts will say. Their top 2 most played lineups in terms of total minutes played are -22 and -15 since the All-Star break. So I'm maybe I'm not feeling incredibly confident, but this feels like first night of a back-to-back. I feel good-ish about this matchup.
Yeah.
Depending if Nico guards Zion well.
Kawhi might have to guard him some. Kobe Brown might have to guard him some, who we did see for 4 minutes last night.
Yeah.
Maybe they throw Eubanks out there against him, or maybe he's going up against Mo Bamba to prove who deserved to be the backup center for the Clippers this season once and for all.
The marquee matchup of
Battle of the Bottom.
Yeah. Do we want to see, Will, how would you feel about Chris Dunn starting this one so he could make life more difficult for CJ McCollum?
I think that makes sense. Look, we have a lot of history with CJ McCollum. You know, this Clippers team is very familiar with how to guard him. I think we've done so very, very well. I think Dunn is definitely up to the challenge, and if he can stay out of early foul trouble, then yeah, I'm all for it. If it's another one of those games where he picks up 3 pretty early, not great. Because like offensively, it's not a whole lot the Pels can really do if you're able to sort of neutralize CJ McCollum. It's going to be very, very difficult. Zion is his own problem. He presents, when healthy, a whole set of issues that I feel like is at his prime is still sort of difficult matchup wise for the Clippers to defend, given some of the smaller forwards that we have, and right now this center rotation being so shaky, but. I would be in favor of Dunn starting on McCollum. I think make him have a bad night early. Don't allow him to get into a rhythm. Don't let the Pels set a new franchise record for 3-point percentage. That'd be great. So yeah,
baby steps.
Baby steps.
Yeah, Adam, how would you feel? You want Derek Jones Jr. off the? He looked great off the bench last game. Like it was, if he's going to be that efficient, Derek Jones Jr. off the bench is phenomenal. And I think with such a good backcourt player, why not put Dunn in there to?
It almost feels like lately they've just settled into, forget the matchup stuff. We're just going to start Chris Dunn and have DJ coming off the bench. I don't know if that's what the thinking is, but when's the last time Chris Dunn didn't start is my question on this team. It seems like it's been a string of games here.
Well, DJJ was injured.
This is true.
He has not been back in the starting lineup since the injury.
And then even before, it just seemed like, I don't know, they're favoring Chris Dunn in that spot. But
I'm with you. Yeah, it did seem like he was taking the lion's share of those starts. And,
even when Norm was healthy? Because I think that's where it changed.
I don't know if I can remember that far back.
That was years ago, man.
It feels like a long time.
Norm? The restaurateur?
I haven't heard that name in a long time.
Teams against the Pelicans can get a lot of threes. They are 30th in opponent 3-point attempts per game. So it seems like maybe a stylistic issue where they're fine with teams. This is since the All-Star break. And they're making a lot of twos. So, the shots are going to be there for the Clippers from the outside, but who do they funnel to? Which kind of goes back to that Dunn question, right? It's going to be – Adam's made me more nervous about this game now. Thanks, dude.
No, I need Kawhi. I want to see Kawhi hit 2 threes in the first quarter. That's what I want to see, because 3 of 19 his last few games out there from distance. That's been rough to watch, and they need his 3-point shooting. I saw somebody say, why is Kawhi taking so many threes? Because he's like a 40% 3-point shooter.
Because Norm Powell is out.
Yeah, they need it. Paul George is no longer here. And so it'd be great if they could exploit that.
Yeah.
It's hard to talk about the Pelicans because they've been in flux so much and trends and patterns. It's who the hell are they? And that's scary to me.
Who are you?
You talk about the Kings being a wild card, the Pelicans. I don't know what's going on there.
That's true. Will, are you worried at all about maybe the physicality? Because this is a pretty physical defensive matchup, at least for Kawhi, that he could find himself in. They got some big bodies over there.
Yeah, I mean, for Kawhi, at least it will be the first night of a back-to-back, so there will be some rest coming up. But, they just had to put a lot in to grind out a win over the Kings. So it definitely could be a factor. And just the size in general. The size of this team with no Ben Simmons, we're just back to a lot of question marks in the front court.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Batum could solve a lot of them, I think. But do they want to play him heavy enough minutes to do that?
Yeah,
he probably shouldn't be playing back-to-backs.
Probably not. No disrespect to Nico, but I wonder what the injury report against the Heat looks like, because obviously Kawhi, Norman, Ben. I wonder if things go well, and I don't, I'm sure they put more thought into it than what I'm doing right now. Things go well tomorrow, and then you think Miami, okay, like if Kawhi plays heavy minutes, Harden's not sitting out. We know that. It'll be interesting. Maybe they give Batum like a rest or something if he has to play a lot, but I wouldn't be super surprised on that.
Is either of these a gimme? Like, is either of these like an indictment on this team if they were to lose?
I think if you have actually been watching the Clippers, it wouldn't be. I think if you don't, you'd say they lost to the Pels, and you would go, well, yeah.
I think the Heat one would be worse to me.
It's the second night of a back-to-back. I mean, yeah, like this team on the second night of a back-to-back, I'm like, okay, I don't know, just don't look like dog shit process-wise.
Yeah, that's fair.
Adam, would any of these be in? Would you arrest the team if they lost either of these games?
No, I think they need to win the Pelicans game, though, with Kawhi out there. You have Kawhi, you need to win that game. Depending on how it played out against Miami, I'll reserve judgment. But they're not terrible. They do have an identity and Heat culture, and they've just been in a downward trend since.
That's just something people say. That doesn't mean anything.
Heat culture?
Yeah.
It's a culture, and it's a Heat culture.
So
how would one display it?
Well, you cut up magazine letters.
Just look at that.
How they display it now, dude? Cut up magazine letters.
Udonis Haslam, Heat culture. Just look at Heat culture.
Just name me a couple of exhibits.
Tough.
PJ Tucker.
Tough toughies.
tough. Yeah. How come they don't have a tough toughies jersey? They should do that for a city edition. All right. Speaking of the Heat, since the All-Star break, pretty average, 4-6, 13th in net rating. Pretty middle of the road. We beat them in January, but we had some pretty insane games from Norm, Zoo, and Harden, and there was no Bam Adebayo in that game, which was a pretty big issue. And Bam routinely can sometimes look like a Hall of Famer against the LA Clippers.
Another tough cover for sure.
Yeah, so that – yeah, now this Pels game is a must-win because now I'm thinking about the fatigue that's going to be hitting the Clippers after traveling. First of all, you're in two pretty rough cities to have free time in if you're trying to get your job done, which is New Orleans and Miami. And, Kawhi's going to eat a bunch of beignets. We know that's going to happen, so he's going to take the second night of the back-to-back off. But that Miami game is just as physical, if not more so, than the Pels team, right? Like, they're going to try and run. I think they're going to try and just run the Clippers out.
Looks like Bam is on a heater, averaging 27 and 11 his last 5 games.
Good.
Well, it's kind of revenge time for him, right? Your co-star very loudly wants out. I mean, I think you'd feel slighted.
That's true. Damn. Okay. Now I'm worried. And they got
I'm thinking Zoo. I'm thinking Big Zoo, playing through him, second night of a back-to-back, getting him more touches out there, making him more of a focal point. You don't have Kawhi. Let's get Zoo another 20 shots, which would tie his career high, which just happened.
I'm looking at last game again, no Adebayo. Zoo had 21 and 20. The game before that, when they did have Adebayo, which was in February 2024, he had 4 points in 18 minutes, which is not ideal. So he's been kind of up and down against the Heat. Career-wise, he's averaging 10 and 8 against the Heat.
How many attempts did he have in that February game?
Let me check.
Did he get hurt?
Hold on, guys. I'm checking. Why would I want the play-by-play? Give me the box score. He went 2 for 4. He played 18 minutes.
Well, it seems like he was getting ignored there.
Yeah, it was not ideal. And it was when Paul George was on the team, so who knows?
They're going to need some threes against that zone that Miami likes to put out there.
Any team that plays a zone against the Clippers looks like defensive geniuses, I feel like. It's like historically the Clippers just don't know what the fuck to do versus zone. I like what you said, though, with Kawhi's 3-point shooting. If he can they're going to throw that zone out pretty early, would be my guess. To be like, hey, let's see if you are shooting well. He makes 2 of them. He makes 2 of the first 3, whatever, 2 of the first 4, Harden 2. It makes them think about it a little bit, which I like. But I'm not looking forward to them working the kinks out against the Miami zone, I guess.
No, that's going to be tough. Second night back-to-back. Does Miami have a game beforehand?
I think they play tonight.
Oh, so then they'll have a day off.
They're playing the Hornets right now. Tight one,
close.
Shout out the Hornets. Shout out future Clipper LaMelo Ball.
See him Sunday.
Yes, we will. All right. Anything else about the Heat before we get to our player of the back-to-back? We haven't even talked about Bogdan yet. They're going to let him shoot probably in Miami against the zone, so let's hope those are falling.
Yeah.
All right. Player of the game, player of the back-to-back picks. Let's do it. Adam, who is your player of the back-to-back? If you're new to the show, we pick anyone who is not Ivica Zubac, Kawhi Leonard, or Norm Powell.
Why? Who knows?
Too easy, baby. We're not doing pin galore rules where you can pick anybody you want. Adam, who are you going with?
I'll go with Bogey Ball. Bogdan Bogdanović. He went, I think, 0 for 4 from 3 against the Kings, but he's had some incredible playmaking possessions recently, and those tip-ins he had against New York were insanely clutch with all 8 of his points coming in the fourth quarter. I like what I'm seeing from Bogey overall, being able to take some of the burden off Kawhi and James Harden out there. Give me some Bogey Ball.
Okay. Trusting Bogdanović to be a hot shooter 2 games in a row, you like to live dangerously. Will, your pick for the Kawhi
I'm
Leonard.
going DJJ again, who I went last time over the weekend. I'd say I was half right, but he's coming off one of his best games as a Clipper. I do think like his physicality helps. I think that he's a guy he's the kind of guy that we need for the schedule that we have always with the back-to-backs and everything, and no Kawhi. It's going to be a tall order, but we gave him his flowers at the beginning of this, but I love the athleticism. I love the versatility. Hoping strings together a couple of good ones.
So Bogdan and Derek Jones Jr., one of those 2 was going to be my picks. I'm going to go... No, I was going to say Amir, but I don't feel confident about that for 2 games in a row.
Go Dunn.
I'm thinking Dunn. I think Chris Dunn is going to have to be – he's going to have to do a lot defensively, especially in that second game with no Kawhi and stuff like that. So Derek Jones Jr. will too. I'm excited to see them kind of paired together to start that one is what I assume will happen. So I'm going with Dunn. I feel pretty good about it. And the Clippers are going to go 1-1. It's a tough back-to-back.
All right.
Okay. Get the receipts ready. Clip it, Adam. Clip it, and you can play it with distorted sound and a remixed horror movie song or something like that. They need to win the game against the Pels. Our conference record needs to be better. It would just make me feel better personally if we were better than 500 in the conference, because the Kings are better in the conference, which is annoying.
Be nice to get a victory over the Pelicans, who have routinely I guess the Clippers have won 2 of the last 3 in New Orleans, but before that, it was ugly. I don't even want to talk about it.
You know what's weird? The Timberwolves have the 3rd most wins in conference play in the Western Conference.
I mean, they've lost a lot of close games. Their bugaboo has been they've lost a ton of clutch time games, but they've been better as of late.
Yeah, they're 26-18 in conference play. Pretty damn good.
They're better than their record, honestly.
Well, thankfully we go by the record.
And the record only.
Which is also better than the Clippers right now. All right, coming up, we're going to be doing an existential question and then sending everyone on their way for this back-to-back. If you're listening, thank you so much. If you're watching, also love that. You can watch it at youtube.com/@ClippersPodcast. Coming up, we're talking the best case scenario for how the Clippers can finish their season. Coming up in 3, 2, 1.
Welcome back in. Clips and Dip. I'm Adam Moslem. We got Chuck Mockler and Will Updike. It's episode 52 of season 3, coming off a huge win last night at Intuit Dome. Some say the best game ever played at Intuit Dome. At least the best ending.
Some people are saying that.
I mean, your first buzzer beater at the Dome. People were freaking out. It was loud. It was crazy. It was pandemonium. But this Clippers team, we just talked about it going out on that road trip, but there are some bigger questions at hand. It's not just about this 3-game roadie. It's about where they end up overall this season by the time things are done. And so I guess, Chuck, you were asked this question. It was posed to you on a podcast recently.
Yes, I did the Knicks Film School pod. Wonderful pod if you ever want to listen to a team from the other coast. I was asked what the best case scenario on how the Clippers season ended is what I said candidly was best case scenario. The way I see it is they win at least one playoff home game at Intuit, and hopefully we don't get bounced out of the playoffs by in this order, Lakers or the Thunder. That was kind of my best. That's what I think maybe best case scenario. That was also when things were not going swimmingly. It was last week. So things have gotten better since then. But that's
so have you changed your answer?
No. If you can get a home playoff or play-in win at Intuit and then be a really annoying team to play in the playoffs, I think that's and again, you don't get bounced out by the Lakers or the Thunder in that order. That would be, I think, that'd be a great way to end the season. Not obviously elite, but we came into the season saying they'd be a high play-in team. And that's what happens to high play-in teams. And if everyone stays healthy, we get a fighting shot.
Okay. Will?
So you're saying five-game first-round exit?
No.
Is the ceiling for this Clippers team?
Maybe 6. What? Yes, that is the ceiling. Will, what is your? I know it's our year.
Shock the world. Shock the world.
Baby.
Is what the ceiling is.
What time is it?
March Madness, baby.
Is what the ceiling is.
Will, you're going championship is the best. I mean,
we get out of the first round. It's looking like smooth sailing.
Okay.
I mean, if they get out of the first round, sky's the limit.
Sure.
I'm just saying, healthy Kawhi Leonard, they're out of the first round. Who knows? It's anyone's game at that point.
It's actually better to play the best teams in the first round when you're the Clippers coming off.
Get it out of the way.
Sure, you sweep it right out of the way.
You're less sleepy.
Yeah. All right, Adam, what are you feeling?
I'll say Western Conference Finals. If everything broke their way, we were talking about it a little bit earlier, but I need Memphis to end up as that 2 seed.
Sure.
That happens. Clippers get 7th. I feel pretty good about their chances at the first round. Sometimes just matchups. I don't think the Lakers should have made it to the Western Conference Finals in 2023 just to get swept by Denver, but they got Memphis. They got the Golden State Warriors. It worked out in their favor. So it's all about the matchups in the end. If the Clippers catch the right ones with a healthy Kawhi, I think they could be a business.
All right, so we have one host saying championship. We have one saying Western Conference Finals, and then me saying first round exit.
5-game first round exit.
5-game first round exit.
Just taking a dump on the Cinderella story.
I think Western Conference Finals. I'm not ready to say that.
Wow, this is a huge backtrack.
But I think the matchup, that thing makes sense. If they get the Grizzlies, I don't exactly see the second round going as swimmingly as Adam does. But
who do they get? Tell me who they're getting.
I guess who would they get? So in your dream scenario, who are they getting? Grizzlies?
Houston in the second round somehow.
Yeah, that would sure. Yeah, if we get Grizzlies Rockets, I'll say.
Are they not in the Western Conference? Is this not a possibility?
They are. They very much are. A lot of things got to fall your way. I do appreciate it. All right. Anything else before? That's really all I had for this extra section. Anything else before we send these Clippers fans onto a week that is an hour shorter as of today?
I'm spent.
We got to get ready for this back-to-back. All right, we're going to do a post-game hang tomorrow after the Pels game because that is the one that is more important, and that is the one where Kawhi is playing. Will, where can people, during their performance reviews, when they're higher-ups, ask them what they've been wasting time on instead of working? Where can they tell their bosses to listen to our pod?
Yeah, you can check out this podcast wherever you get your podcast. If you happen to listen over on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, go ahead, leave us a little rating and review. Definitely helps us out. But the best way to watch this show, you can watch a bunch of crazy stuff happen, like the camera angles changing, me randomly cutting out, is over on youtube.com, and that's at Clippers Podcast. Subscribe over there, hit the little bell so you know when we're doing new stuff. Sometimes we come at you live. We love to get the community involved, but however you consume this show, we appreciate you.
We very much do. We love getting the community involved. Adam, hardest part of the show right now, give these Clippers fans one positive thing to start their week with. Please.
You know, as much as we were bitching about the three-point shooting going against the Clippers recently, I just looked this up. Last 3 games, team shooting 28% against the Clippers from 3. Third lowest percentage in the NBA over that time.
Believe in the averages. Believe in the averages.
The math is right here.
But I feel like CJ McCollum hit like 10 against them this year, or was that last year?
I don't know. We don't got to bring that up.
Is that a real thing, or did I nightmare that up?
Hold on, let me look. Now I'm confused. No, did he do that?
Either way, the Clippers, things are trending in the right direction again. The law of averages is back in their favor. After 15 games of getting the worst three-point shooting variance against them, it's going to even out. This is how things work.
There we go. The law of averages, evening out at the right time, closer to the end of the season where 66% of this podcast thinks they're going to the Western Conference Finals. Bare minimum, baby.
That wasn't a question.
We will be back live. That's how you manipulate stats, man. We will be back live after the game tomorrow. You can also catch Adam on Clippers Talk before and after the game. Thank you for hanging out. And as always, let's go Clips.